Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Thursday, April 30th edition of PCA Live 3 at 3. I'm Scott Pierce, the Executive Director of the Premium Cigar Association. We've got a great show today. I'm really excited about this one because this brings sort of my cigar experience full circle to kind of the beginning days of when I started smoking cigars and being introduced to the Tatuaje brand at Up Down Cigar in Chicago when I was there at a conference visiting. I think a lot of people have probably heard me tell this story numerous times, but we're going to add a little bit of a wrinkle into this story as I tell it today and revisit the past here with a couple of folks. But we're going to go ahead and bring up today's group of people. We've got none other than Pete Johnson of Tatuaje Cigars, Tatuaje Wine, and a whole host of other endeavors. And we've got Phil from Up Down Cigar, Phil Ledbetter, and also PCA board member, and also Josh Habersky. So I want to bring everybody up now. Pete, Phil, and Josh. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Fantastic.
Pete, can you sound maybe just a little more enthusiastic?
I'm a little bit bummed because I really want to light this TAA cigar up. But I have to sit inside because it's raining outside right now.
So you're forbidden from smoking inside, huh?
Well, I choose not to.
Yeah.
I did that for many years of my life where my pillow was right next to my, an ashtray, and I decided I didn't want it to be an ashtray anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We just had a town hall with Representative Guy Reschenthaler from Pennsylvania, and he was saying that his colleagues in Congress and throughout his career have said that he wears the Dominican cologne because he always smells like cigars. Representative Guy Reschenthaler from Pennsylvania. Well, I got a little bit of a feedback there and heard myself. That was pretty terrible. I hate it when I hear myself over these things. Our good friend Michael Herklotz is watching. Hi, Michael, and Adam as well. Hi, welcome, guys. So I started off with saying this is a really special event for me. Number one, I do want to get this out of the way. My very first time I met Pete, I was flying down to the TAA a couple of years ago and been smoking Tatuajes for quite a long time. And it was pretty funny because I remember seeing him in line and I jokingly was going to ask if you were going to sign, you could autograph the ad in the magazine when I was flying down there, because there you were right there on the back inside cover. And you were like, who the hell is this guy? You're like, you had no idea who I was, obviously, because that was my first day on the job. And you're like, who are you with, man? It was pretty sorry to have fanboyed out on you in that moment. It was pretty funny. Just watching you go through customs lines and everything else.
I just thought you were a stalker.
Yeah. No, that's the shit. I only got this job because I was stalking you. Yeah, that would have been, that was good stuff. So we'll get into a few things here, but I wanted to start this off today because I told Phil this story before we started here. So roughly 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, I don't remember exactly when it was. I was out of town. I was in Chicago at a conference and went into Phil's shop, and I was fairly new and still trying to figure out the various types of cigars that I would like in the palette. And so I remember meeting Phil there, and Phil kind of walked me through the different selection and introduced me to actually Tatuaje. And the cigar that he gave, I remember I saved the band and I went back and researched it because the cigar was just so ridiculously delicious and so enjoyable. And so I introduced it to some of my friends. I think some of them may actually be watching today. But they now buy boxes of this every year. But it's the good old Tatuaje Reserve. It's the J21, and that's a regular. So this is actually really cool for me to be smoking this and kind of have this conversation with you guys. So with that, I'm going to try something I've never tried before on these broadcasts, and that is I'm going to share my screen because I want to show a clip here from City Slicker. So thank you for being my guinea pig. But this is what Phil reminds me of. Not Phil, you are significantly better looking than Barry, but
that's probably not true.
Phil is my Barry from Ira and Barry's ice
Not
cream.
an attractive man, Scott. I know that.
From City Slickers. That's not true, Phil. This is a great scene, and this is why I love Phil, and this is actually another reason why I love the retailers that I got to know, because this is kind of what they're like for me, being able to kind of pick out that perfect cigar, the perfect blend for what your palate and what you like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test this real quick. So please, I hope this all works and is good to go.
Not going to work.
Thanks for your vote of confidence. So here, let's try this.
It was Chinese food, right on the money. But this, toasted almonds.
What's going on? Barry can pick out the exact right flavor of ice cream to follow any meal. Go ahead. Challenge him. Challenge him.
Come on.
Franks and beans.
Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla. Don't waste my time. Come on. Push me.
Sea bass. Grilled. Sauteed.
I'm with you.
Potatoes are rotten. Asparagus.
Rum raisin.
All right, so there it is. That is.
It is a great scene, though.
It absolutely, Phil. You are my Barry, right? Phil,
I appreciate the aftermath this is going to bring on me. Just so you know, thank you.
you are 100%.
Yeah, you showed that to the wrong people.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't need this at all. Cheers. I'm going to remember.
I hope my brother is watching.
Your younger brother?
Oh, we'll talk about Casey here in a little bit, actually. So, anyway, that's my thank you to Phil and to Pete, because quite frankly, my love of cigars, really, that's where it all started. I was experimenting at the time and really getting to know them and enjoying it, but it really was. It was the Reserva J21 that it blew me away. And to this day, even just smoking this, the memories and everything else, a part of it, it's just a ridiculously delicious cigar. So thank you, Pete, for making it, and thank you, Phil, for introducing me to it.
I have no recollection of that interchange at all, just so you know. I just, I'm glad you influenced my soul.
And every year that I went to that conference, I kept bringing people back with me to the shop, and we would smoke. And we spent a few times. There's a guy, JP, that I worked with, who I also introduced him to the J21 when we went to your store and bought cigars and sat there and smoked them before we went out with dinner that night with everybody. So, it's I got a very long history with the up down before I even came here. So I always thought that was kind of a great connection. So,
it's funny because you were the one who got me introduced a year ago to Tatuaje Cigars. It's that domino effect. And every time I go to Chicago, that's what I order. I know that you have a good selection of them. And I brought my parents there that one year, and Phil and I had some Tatuaje, different cigars, and then wine on the back porch. And that was the first time that my parents had a cigar. Now I'm back in Erie, Pennsylvania, my hometown. I've been here pulled up through the coronavirus, and I get special dispensation every Thursday when we do these broadcasts to smoke inside. So I'm enjoying a pumpkin that was specially sent by Phil for this broadcast in particular. But we had some good times in Chicago. I remember we gave Bobby Hall a cigar, which that was a highlight of my life.
The highlight of that was the picture he took with, I think it was with you and maybe your dad, and he had food in his mouth, and he just like would stop chewing for 1 second to pose and then just keep eating because he didn't want to be bothered, but also was still taking photos. So they were fantastic photos. That was an awesome weekend with you guys. I haven't used the fire pit yet, but that was fantastic. Thanks, Josh.
He has a Chicago Blackhawks fire pit. We sent him. We went to a Blackhawks convention and enjoyed cigars. And we had gone to his shop the night before, and I had a few in my pocket, and it was with like the players, some of the historic players from the Blackhawks, and we gave Bobby Hall, famous hockey player, a cigar.
Very fun. We do have a question here. Pete, I know you're not smoking, but what cigar did you just grab? There's a question everyone wants to know. I'm obviously on the Reserva J21.
No, it's the 2020 TAA.
Oh, that's right. Good. Perfect.
It's Sumatra. It's actually going to be my last big release of the TAA cigar.
Very nice. I look forward to getting that one.
I have plans for next year for something else.
Anyway, you want to break that news here now?
Well, I've actually already told everybody. I'm actually going to be shifting a lot of my concentration to the PCA. So, a lot of my custom cigars that I'm going to be releasing over the next few years are going to be PCA releases only, and awesome. I'll cut back on my TA releases.
That's so fantastic! I love hearing that. That's great. Yeah, that's One of the things I learned early on coming into this is how much you truly give back to the industry, whether it's hand rolled or others. Just even donating cigars to different events. We had a fundraiser here to go towards the legal fight with the FDA, which one of the cases we recently won. So you've always been a tremendous supporter. No hesitation whatsoever, anytime, anything. So it's always been great in that regard. Josh, let's lead into the first question. I know you're smoking something that I loved when I smoked it too, and I know you wanted to ask Pete about it.
Yeah, one of the questions, I have the pumpkin here. Really interested in the Monster series, the creativity that went behind that. Can you tell us a little bit about the series and the pumpkin in particular?
Well, the pumpkin actually was like an offshoot. I was planning on making a cigar for full release with that band on it, and I decided to keep it for events only. I can tell you, I can't see which one you're smoking, but
It's the spice.
There we go.
is it the spice? Okay, so it's the Sumatra. It's the Sumatra version. I have done it in 3 different wrappers: Connecticut broadleaf, Sumatra, and Mexican San Andreas. I decided to come out with it just for events only. So you have to participate in an event or show up to an event, and the retailer gives you a pack of those as a gift for supporting the brand. Or in return of you purchasing something from the retailer, we give that to you as a thank you.
And I recently purchased from Phil a box of the Mardi Gras special as well, and that came with that. So, and
the Monster series in general.
I've been on a 2-a-day regime now. I know a lot of people through coronavirus are working out. They're taking online courses. I'm trying to learn the cigar. As much about cigars. I did the certified tobacconist course and have been religiously smoking 3 cigars a day.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool that you actually take the time to do the course. I actually save my palate between days. I'll smoke. Like yesterday, I didn't smoke. Today, I'll probably end up going to smoke after this once it stops raining. Plus, now that I've already cut the cap, I really want to smoke it. But I've had nights where I've done like 7 cigars, and the next morning I just don't feel good. So that's why I take the break.
Take a break. Well, Pete and Phil, how are both of you structuring your businesses and taking different approaches to get through the coronavirus and sustain business, sustain employees, and keep the ship sailing, so to speak?
Phil, you want to take that first?
I don't care either way. I buy from you. You go first.
Actually, yeah, we're running as a skeleton crew since early on during this whole pandemic. We actually took the time to scrub down the office really good, and luckily our guys we have a small crew in the office anyways, so we're able to keep distancing very simple. But now we have one guy that's actually in his own little bubble, which is Andy, who runs our office day to day. And then Tony, who does packing, along with another gentleman by the name of Delver, who does packing. They come on 2 days a week, 2 different days a week. And what's good about that is it keeps them separated because they'd be in the same area. And Tony works Monday and Tuesday, and then Delver comes in for Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, Andy is basically just cleaning up the books or whatever for the weekend, and then on we go for the next week. We might start picking that up where maybe Tony comes in for 3 days a week and Delver's still 2 days a week, but we still don't want to keep them confined in the same area together. So it's better to have them, shifting off between days. Phil?
We've been pretty much skeleton crew to a point. When this whole thing started and we were considered non-essential, which is a bunch of crap, we basically realized we could still do shipping, and that was about it. So me and 3 of the other staff, well, first off, Joel and I looked at our budget and realized we could pay everybody in full at least through the end of April, and planned on doing that no matter what, and then evaluate how April went before we looked at May. The first week or so, we did some kind of heavy lifting, cleaning and remodeling around the sales floor just because we didn't have customers in there, and a few of my staff were coming in regularly, mostly just because they wanted to be able to come in place and have a place to smoke, and not just be cooped up at home. So we got into a really good regimen, and about a week and a half into it, we just weren't getting a lot of local phone calls and orders. And I started kind of touching base with a lot of, S&S guys and people we had been to the events. We sent out some emails to get some contacts, and I really started spending more time, which is more than zero, because that's how much I usually spend on social media, and interacting with more people, just talking to some of the regulars, being involved in their forums, not necessarily even doing business, but just getting to know people. And I got a call from a really good guy in one of the Atlantic Facebook groups. He placed an order on our website for some peat stuff for the TAs and some other things, and our website is so embarrassingly outdated, and we haven't bothered to update it, and decided we're not going to build a new one yet until we know what our future looks like. So we had to call everybody. So I called James and talked to him for a while, and he was so appreciative of placing an online order and then speaking to somebody about it. And I let him know about, how the Queen Beef Cakes came to be, and that, it's our 4th Mardi Gras exclusive, and some of the history of the store. And just that engagement alone, he invited me to get on his Facebook group. Those guys have been extraordinarily supportive since then, just by that interaction. And he told me flat out, he's like, listen, we don't see a lot of that stuff down here. It's hard to find things that are unique, and when you order them online, you place the order, you punch send, and then the stuff shows up. But that personal interaction meant so much to him, and it was really kind of it was an extension of how we treat our customers in the store that we are now bringing onto remote orders, that has been really life-saving for us. I mean, we've had a shockingly good April, and it's been me just on the forums, meeting new people, engaging with them, talking to them about just the random BS that everyone talks about online, plus also commenting they have questions about other cigars. And it's been good for me just to see kind of what the deals they're getting and what they're looking at on other places. And some of the big guys, the discounts they're throwing out there, I mean, shit, I ordered some La Marquesa number 4s yesterday from a place because they had them in stock and they were like dirt cheap. And I called Andy and you didn't have any, so I called and just ordered from these guys. But some of the deals running, we just can't compete with. I mean, we're a single store, and I'm trying to pay everybody, and we don't have that reach or the infrastructure of that kind of shipping. So these guys have kept us afloat, and I cannot thank them enough. And I'm looking at doing some projects later that Pete and I have talked briefly about doing something kind of for them later next year as a little thank you / up down project. That it's been amazing to see how far service goes, even in this virtual and online world where these guys don't get that attention from so many places. And it's been fun for me to do it, and it's changed how we're doing things, but it's been successful, and we're humming along. We get to start curbside tomorrow, so that's hopefully, I mean, from the phone calls we've been getting, that's going to be big for us, so that we're looking forward to that too.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think is really interesting is that the cigar industry, while you purchase a product, that the reason why I love the relationship with the retailers and why I wanted to show that clip with Barry and everything else, all joking aside, is that I'm not looking at my retailer to go and have this transactional. I don't want it to be a commodity, right? I want this to be more than that because of what I want to experience with this. This has meaning to me, a lot of meaning to me. Particularly this particular stick and this particular brand, it has a lot of meaning to me. And so to what your point there, being able to call and talk to somebody, I know that people are doing virtual humidor visits with FaceTiming and going through and seeing what's there and talking through it. So that aspect of it, I think, is so critical, and I don't think can be ignored. And I think there's a lot of people out there realizing how important that is when you are purchasing your cigars and when you want to get them because of that. And so I'm guardedly optimistic that once we kind of get out of all of this, that there's going to be somewhat of a resurgence back into retail as a whole, but in particular to our retail stores, because of the recognition now, right? You don't know what you got until it's gone. Now that that's been taken away from us, that there's going to be, I'm really hopeful that there's going to be a resurgence of that because of just what you talked about right there, people appreciating that relationship and that special guidance and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun for me. I mean, I got into this industry in the fall of 2000 as a second job because I was smoking a pipe, liked cigars, wanted to learn more, and the store was halfway between my main job and my house, and I was going out drinking all night instead of going home and being a normal person. So I figured this job was open till 11. I could work till 5, come here, work again, and then and just have something to do besides screw off all my minimal money. And I just fell in love with this industry and the camaraderie. The every day is different. The product is so fantastic, and especially now. I mean, cigars out now compared to 2000, it's night and day how much better the cigars we're getting now are. And you know, it's tough because I don't think there's very many bad cigars made. And back in 2000, you had to search to find good cigars that were new. But this industry has changed my entire existence, and I've just fallen in love with everything I've done here. I mean, from being on the board of the PCA, now on my second term, and getting to work with guys like Pete, especially in the earlier days. I mean, we brought in your stuff in 2006, and it was like the one brand I cared about that year with Diana was to bring that one in. And I'll never forget that interaction. That was freaking hilarious. But
I remember that day pretty vividly.
So
Yeah.
let's try another experiment here. Speaking about days gone by and Pete Johnson, and let's go ahead and see if I can actually do this again. And I don't know if Pete, you want to provide some commentary when we try this, but I'm going to go. Let's try this one more time.
Depends on what it is.
It's just this simple one here.
everything I sent was harmless.
It was, yeah. If you could see that image right there of Pete.
That would have been 2012, I think.
2011 on that one.
2011. Okay.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
2008 one is the one you should show, Pierce. That's the gem.
All right, let me see if I can find that. Then
The
I'll look for that when we do this. Gotta wade through the ones. 2008, you said? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, with him and Diana, or him working the counter.
Holy cow! I didn't even. Well, when I first opened it up and looked at it, I didn't even recognize him. That's fantastic. All right, I'm gonna have to get that loaded up and go. I'll turn this over to Josh while I get this set up so I can show you guys.
Yeah, you guys mentioned the Mardi Gras cigar. I know, Phil, you do a big party every year. It's one of the main parties in Chicago for Mardi Gras, and you have an event-specific cigar. Can you talk a little bit about the partnership and the cigar itself from this year?
So I'm going to preface this. This has nothing to do with me because I've been disinvited many times or uninvited many times.
And you bailed on it a couple of times too, so let's not forget that. Because your calendar scheduling is horrible. But anyway, so I used to actually almost move to New Orleans because I fell in love with that city in the early 2000s and was actually looking at places to live down there during the IPCPR in 2005 when we were down there right before Katrina hit. And I'd been going for a few years and loved that city to this day. And when Katrina hit, that obviously canceled those plans. But I started having like a Fat Tuesday party at my house, just me and my friends getting together and having fun. And I'd buy like 200 pieces of Popeye's chicken, and we buy a bunch of Abita beer and start drinking at noon on a Tuesday. And it was always absurdly fun. And kind of decided eventually that realizing that Chicago doesn't do anything for that. And, this first quarter is our slowest time of the year anyway. No one really does events because it's shitty weather and it's awful. I decided instead of destroying my house, we'd do it at the store and turn it into an event. So I actually talked to Pete's younger brother, Casey, and started setting it up. We kind of built it as a lat Fat Tuesday party. And the first year was Casey and Dan and doing it as a L'Atelier event. Did I just die? Okay.
No, you're there.
And it was just kind of a way to have a party in February in Chicago. So it was cold as hell outside. We had to rent a bunch of heaters for the tent, but everyone had a blast, and it was the same thing. We had Popeye's chicken and just real basic, and now it's grown where the Queen Beefcake was our fourth event cigar, and they've always been kind of a homogenization of two other blends he's done. So they're kind of special in that it's like a wrapper from one blend and a grinded filler from another. And usually decide sometime in October or November what we're going to do. This year's, we actually talked about in the summer and figured it out much earlier, which was great. And they're always a lot of fun. The events have become one of probably our signature event. I mean, this year we even did these ridiculous Mardi Gras hats just for the event only, and put the fleur-de-lis on there instead of the stars for the flag. And so it's just really grown into a really fun event. And why would anyone do Mardi Gras in Chicago? Because it has no relevance besides what the personal effect that we wanted to do with it and have fun with it. And so now it's usually the Lat Tat Fat Tuesday event at Up Down. And it's just, I dress up like an idiot. We put beads all over the store. And now my girlfriend, Amy, who's a ridiculously good chef, cooks for it. So she does jambalaya and gumbo and muffalata sandwiches, and the food is just ridiculous. Most people come now for the food and that one cigar instead of anything else. My very good friends at Goose Island sponsor the event with us, and we had Bourbon County on draft this year. It was just a shit show. We had a blast.
So I think that I kind of want to ask this question though, because you talk about you dressing up like a buffoon, good food and drinking and partying and going crazy, even if it's cold outside. I don't know why that's a special occasion, Phil, because I feel like that's you pretty much every Tuesday.
Well, the difference is that there's more than like me. It's just there's actually a crowd of people, and I rent heaters versus just freeze. Plus I smoke in my house, so it's always a shit show around here. But I appreciate that, Scott.
Fair enough. I thought you were going to say the difference is the beads. So I do want to do.
Oh no, there's beads all over the place here. That's not.
I thought you meant the difference is. So I do want to do this. A good shout out to your girlfriend Amy. Yes, Amy is fantastic.
Yeah, she was actually a customer here for like 9 months before I even met her or knew who she was, and we finally crossed paths. Ironically, it was right before our Fat Tuesday party like 3 years ago. So she rolled in, not to the event, but saw me in my sweet parade captain outfit and all that stuff, and I might have been intoxicated when we actually started talking more socially. But
you set the bar. So you set the bar really high then for every interaction afterward. I don't know how you've kept it up.
Goose Island sponsors us.
Goose Island. There you go. Fantastic.
And I gave her a lot of cigars, so she's happy.
Well, I was going to say that. Yeah, that has to be a part of it. So one of the things that I've learned so many years. Oh, Amy's actually watching. Hello, Amy. Good to quote unquote see you again. One of the things I do want to ask you, Pete, is I'm always very fascinated by this. But when 1 year we were at a factory, we were doing, I don't know if you remember this or not, but kind of a blind taste test to try to determine where certain tobaccos were coming from, and 3 different cigars, whether it's Dominican or whether it was Nicaraguan or Cuban. And you were sitting over there with your brother and with Pepin and a couple of others, right? And I'm such a novice, and even to this day, I wouldn't be able to tell. I'm more than happy to admit that I do not have a very good, sophisticated palate when it comes to cigars. But it was just, I sat there just to kind of listen to you guys talk about this and how just on a cold draw, you were able to determine exactly what it was. And so I'm always fascinated by guys like you who have such an expertise in this craft. I'm just very curious about how you approach, what your approach is when you're kind of developing a blend, in terms of how you approach it palate-wise, what you're trying to get out of it. Because I did go to culinary school, and I've done that approach of what I want to get out of a meal. I don't know if it's similar to that, but that's at least how I relate to it. So I'd be very curious to kind of get your insights on how is it that you approach a blend in a project and what you're trying to get out of it. And is it really just, hey, look, this tastes good to me, so screw it, I'm just going to put it out there, and if people like it, that's great. Or is there an entirely different process that you kind of go through?
You kind of nailed it on that last one. I honestly, it's pretty simple for me. At the end of the day, the cigar has to be good. If I don't like the way it tastes, it will never be made. I mean, Obviously, someone else might decide to push a cigar like that into production, but at the end of the day, I have to love it. And if I don't absolutely find a perfect placement for it in the portfolio, so that's how I usually go into a blend: is what am I missing in the portfolio? What can we offer different than we already have? Because I mean, if I'm just re-releasing the same stuff with a different band, it doesn't make any sense. But if I'm able to maybe make I always use food analogies. If I'm able to make a pizza instead of a salad or a steak, and I don't have a pizza in my lineup, then okay, this is what I'm going for. And once I'm done with the blend, and if it could be one cigar, it could be 20. But as soon as it hits my palate the right way, I go, okay, that's what I want to use. And I usually try not to overthink it, because as soon as I start overthinking it, that's when I get screwed up. And that's when I start going, okay, well, maybe that other one might have had a little bit more chocolate to it. And you start overthinking. Next thing you know, you don't even want to do the project. I've had that happen where I've had projects where I've actually shelved because I was never happy with the actual result of the samples. Like, I just couldn't put my finger on what the cigar was supposed to be and where I wanted to go. But the joke is that you make cigars for yourself. The bonus is when people actually like them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I think it's very safe to say that people love them. If nothing else, I know myself and my group of friends who buy these things seriously almost by the truckload. They in fact love them. Phil, so on that note then, what was it for you? I mean, obviously you loved the cigars, but what was it for you about the fact you just talked about Diana and wanting to be the one to bring in Tatuaje? So what was it for you as far as Tatuaje was concerned that wanted to bring him in, and like why that relationship was kind of nurtured, even beyond the fact that I'm guessing probably you and P became fast friends, but kind of just talk about why and then how that relationship is nurtured into becoming kind of what it is, because there's a lot of things that I know Pete does special just for your shop.
So, I mean, back then, Diana was still very active in the store and was a fantastic mentor, and it's still her store. Joel and I are just running it at this point, and we say that all the time. Our new logos have her initials on everything. For what she brought to not only our industry, but for me personally and for professionally, she was a mentor and a friend, and we miss her terribly. We toast her at every event we do. So it's her store forever. We're just kind of running the show now. But she would always be very critical of anything new, especially back then, because everything tasted like an armpit, and she had a bunch of really wonderful expressions to describe stuff. And, I fell in love with Lanceros in the early days, and getting her to buy Lanceros was impossible because no one bought Lanceros, especially then. So that we had plenty of good fights over stuff to bring in. But on that specific show, Pete had been out for about 3 years at that time. There was enough hype out there where people were asking for it. I had bought them to try them and thought they were amazing. The Miami Especiales is still one of my favorite cigars, period. Ironically, the Lancero, of course. So, and I remember I told Diana on the flight that, I want to bring this in. I won't order a single other thing as long as we're bringing in Tatuaje, because I want to play with this stuff and try it and see how it does in the shop. And it didn't have a huge presence in Chicago yet, so it's like, okay, fine. So we walked up to him, and, Diana was, 4 feet tall and sunglasses on 24/7. And we walked up to Pete. I'd never met him before. And we're like, she's like, yeah, I want to bring in your line. And he'll remember what she said better, because I remember the aftermath. And he saw, oh, yeah, up, down. Yeah, absolutely. This is Andy, the power behind the throne. He'll take care of you. So we sat with Andy, and there was a whole... To get the brown label, you had to buy the red. You had to buy, a little bit of everything to get at it, and there was box quantities. And she was basically busting Andy's nuts, saying, yeah, I don't want that stuff. I just want this. And I'm just telling him, just nodding quietly behind, and then told him, I'll be back in 30 minutes, and we'll actually write the order because we're not paying attention to what she's doing here. So it was a struggle, and she never complained. She ignored the invoice when all this shit came in. I'm just like, oh, yeah, you ordered that. We're bringing this line in. Okay, that's great. So we got everything through, and it really started the success of it all. And honestly, the evolution, we don't ask a lot from manufacturers. We just kind of like to go about our business and sell cigars. And it just did extremely well. We did our first event with Pete in 2008. And it's been just positive and successful, I think, for both of us for a long time. I mean, we sell more Pete stuff than some very major brands. And it's because the staff have embraced it. We've really embraced the line and the style of everything that goes with it, and kind of made it into our own little animal. And that's what got us started on the Mardi Gras projects. When Pete's 10th anniversary coincided with our 50th and with the Garcia's 10th. And so we did a Jaime Garcia 10th anniversary, / up down 50, and I'm actually smoking one now, the Fausto in a Lonsdale size for his 10th and our 50th, and just that kind of collaboration started off the Mardi Gras projects and other things that we could do them in small batches and make it simple and make it clean. We're not creating crazy new blends. It's just kind of finding easy hybrids that we can make happen quickly that I can afford to do, because we're not selling 6,000 boxes of this stuff as much as I'd love to. And he's been really great to work with on this stuff because he gets it. Him working in retail, I'm assuming, gets an insight into what a single store operation is capable of. And it's been fantastic that he's been willing to work with us. And we've taken that kind of model and used it with other companies now too. So we're kind of growing out this, what I kind of call a family approach, where it's the manufacturers that we are close with personally. We may not do the ton of business with, but we have great relationships. So we want to work together and help each other grow together. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's an approach that's been successful, but it's also can be trying at times, just when stuff takes a little longer to get going. It takes a lot of hand selling, but it's a lot of fun.
Pete, have you seen that duplicated in other stores?
Dick is very tolerant of us and all our names and our harassing.
I really want to jump in on the whole Diana thing, because the history for me with Diana is that I visited her store every time I would go to the Chicago Big Smoke back in the old days. And so it was always one of those things. I'd meet up with our friend George Brightman, who was part of Cigar Aficionado at the time. And he would say, we're going to Diana's. And everybody knew who Diana was. She had her own cigar line that was made by the Fuente family. She was like the queen of tobacco, the queen of cigars. And she was still one of those ladies that I would get nervous around, because she had, even though she was 4'0", she had such a dominant presence. And she really didn't give a shit about anything.
No.
And a couple funny stories. One was the trade show. So I was early, so 96, I was at probably Diana's store for the first time. Come the trade show in 2006, this is already now 10 years later. Phil and her walk into the booth, and at the time, my booth is completely packed. Like, this is like my breakout year. I'm telling everybody no, like literally no. If you want that, get in line, because there's a lot of other people that were here before you. And it was one of those 3 days of struggle of just yelling at people. So like, hey, listen, I have customers that have been with me for 3 years already that deserve the product before anybody else. And if you want that product, I need you to bring in this product first. As soon as she walked in the booth, Mike Perales brought her up, and she tipped her glasses. And I looked back at Andy, I said, give them whatever they want. Because she was just one of those powerful people. And plus, it's an honor to be in a store like that. Like when you grow up watching a store that's so iconic in the industry, and then you finally end up having a brand like I did, and they want to bring in your product, you're like, hell yeah. That's the end goal, right? But one funny story about Diana with the Mardi Gras event, we were at Goose Island's tap room one night. This is when Diana was still around. It was my first Mardi Gras event. And I think I needed a cane that weekend because I threw out my leg or my knee. And the rule was you didn't get a cane from Phil unless you came 2 years in a row. So he wouldn't give me one. Well, Diana was walking around. She sat down. She goes, I want to smoke a cigar. And someone tried to give her a small, little, tiny cigar. And she goes, I don't want that small little thing. Give me a big cigar. Like she was so pissed off about this little small cigar coming up to her that she's like, give me a real cigar. She ended up smoking I think it was a Lat 56. She smoked a 6.5 by 56 cigar that night. I was laughing my ass off. She was the best.
One of these things that we've talked about on this broadcast and previous broadcasts is that small family-owned manufacturer retailer bond, and how this industry, unlike any other, is so relationship driven. And Scott and I have talked about this, that we think, for the remainder of 2020, it's that bond that is going to revitalize and revive the industry, and will get us through the challenges and crisis that's before us. What are ways that both of you think that manufacturers and retailers can work together?
I think there's been a lot of cool stuff happening already. The virtual meetups and virtual events I'm excited about. We're actually doing our first one with Davidoff on Saturday, and we've got we did a pre-sale where you've got a pack of 3 cigars. You ordered ahead of time. We shipped them all out already, so everyone will have it in time for the presentation Saturday. And we have 69 attendees already for this thing, which is fantastic. And we're doing one with Pete in a couple of weeks, May 16th.
May 16th.
There you go. So we're going to do one with Peter in a couple of weeks. But the response has been tremendous. I kind of just texted all my customers that I had their cell phones in my phone 2 Saturdays ago. Like, hey guys, let's just get together and just catch up. Excuse me. We ended up being online for 5 hours, just bullshitting and smoking and drinking and cracking each other up. And I'm like, okay, we need to be connecting more, and this is a really good way to do it. So we're going to do a weekly get together. It's going to start going out on our full mailing list so we can get as many people as want to get involved and talk. We're going to have a different guest every week, be it a cigar manufacturer, an accessory manufacturer, somebody from Goose Island, just to kind of talk about some of the beer and the projects we've done together. But keep it, a lot of them are just going to be formal or informal, laugh and fun, and remember how great smoking cigars together can be. Another thing that was very interesting, and I think a lot of stores, especially that have liquor licenses that are able to do this, which we are not, but Goose Island's helping us with some projects, is collaborating with, a cigar and a beer package, or a bottle of bourbon and cigars package, and work with, a local liquor company where they can build a spirit, you can sell the cigar, and then everything can get picked up together at the same time. So you can kind of just partner with people that you've either worked with before or have relationships with, and you can have some fun collaborations. It helps both companies get their names out in the broader scope, and it gets everyone just kind of working together to team up on stuff. I finally got around to building a newsletter that we're starting to do at least every week or two, and I'm putting, just partners that have helped us in the past and putting their logos at the bottom of it, non-cigar related, just to tell people, hey, don't forget about our friends that have helped us over the years. And it's really that extra touch and the engagement in the relationships, and extending that now more than ever, where take the time to call people who order stuff, ask them how they're doing, remind them that there's other new cigars coming, and just stay engaged as much as you can. A lot of places that don't have email lists built yet, but now's the time to do it. Text people, call people, just have that point in contact to make sure you're staying engaged with guys, and people come to help each other out really fast. It's been fantastic to see. I mean, it's been touching to me for the support we've gotten, and a lot of them are just new guys who, I did a blind cigar trade with one of the guys on the forums, and he sent me a Queen Beefcake in his kit, which I was cracking up because he didn't realize that it was an up-down cigar. He got it from a group buy from one of the guys on the forums, and I'm like, that's fantastic. It's the first cigar I lit that he sent me. And it's like he didn't realize it was up-down cigar, and that kind of, that interaction and touch is so much fun to find weird stuff like that, where you can just engage guys, and all of a sudden you've got an instant relationship that you're going to be able to build on and maintain after this is all over. Even we can do events with this after this and things go back to semi-normal. I'm still going to be talking to these guys and staying engaged because they've bailed us out in a huge, huge way in the past month.
Yeah, I think this virtual thing will continue for a long time, even after we're allowed to go out and actually meet people again. We've actually started a new program. We tested it this past Tuesday, where it's kind of like a regional update, and we go with one rep in a region and maybe 5 or 6 or 7 retail stores within that region, different states, and we just catch up and we find out what they're doing differently to try to stay afloat, or even whether or not they can even sell or be open at all. So it's good to kind of catch up to these retailers that have been key to our success, and just to see how they're doing. So we're planning on doing that. Originally we were planning on doing that every Tuesday, but I think we're going to start doing it every Tuesday and every Saturday because we want to catch up on more regions at a time. So we're putting it on Facebook and on YouTube. That way someone can go back and say, oh, that's the region I live in. Maybe I want to support one of those retail stores.
Yeah, that's awesome. So any consumers listening on that, check that out. So that way, again, just some of the comments on the side here, really supporting the local businesses is so critical. And what I really hope happens is that support doesn't wane after we get back into sort of the habits of daily life. Is that really supporting that local business is so incredibly important. And hopefully that spirit is reignited here across the country for that. One of the things that I did want to ask Pete about, and we can go to some other questions. So you are a really creative person, right? You've music and a lot of different endeavors, obviously wine, and very entrepreneurial. And I was just kind of wondering, I'm very curious, just because, again, the fanboy in me for Tatuaje, what's the next phase for you in terms of entrepreneurial, creative endeavors? And what's the next kind of phase for you?
I'm working on the perfect retirement. No,
I am calling BS on that, dude. I don't think you're going to retire until you are taking a dirt nap.
No, yeah. I don't think I'll do much anything different as far as cigars. I mean, my goal is to make sure that the company stays strong, and we maneuver through whatever legislation or litigation that we have to deal with. And if we have to be regulated in some small way, then I'll make sure the company is mapped out perfectly and we continue to survive in this industry. I really don't know anything better than this industry. Yeah. I mean, this is 27 years for me that I've been doing this. So 17 with my own brand, but 27 running around, following guys like Carlito Fuente or Lito Gomez or whoever you can think of. I was the original fanboy. So I think that's where you mentioned that I have such a big thing about this industry, and I care a lot about this industry. I think that's why I get so pissed off about the industry too, because I care too much about it, because it's really the only thing that I know how to do, and it's the one thing that I really want to see survive. So
yeah, I think the family description is so apropos, because just like in a family, you get pissed off at each other more than you would otherwise, right? Because you care so much, you're with each other all the time. But the second that anybody external to that family threatens you, it's all hands on deck. I'm only allowed to talk to my family member. You're not allowed to talk to my family member like that, right? And yeah. I think it's really apropos for this industry, just because it's so close. And, we're obviously having some very serious threats to that family, for which, Josh and I continue to try to combat that as much as possible. We do have a suggestion here that I actually would like to come to fruition, and maybe a little bit of a twist off of it. But, Kelly Boudreau is recommending a karaoke event at Up Down. I would like to take that a little bit further. And maybe we can there are a lot of musicians that are in this industry, right? And I would suggest we get a big industry battle of the bands going. That would be my wish.
Ask Matt Krim to host that one.
Yeah.
That makes more sense for me. Yeah, I realized that.
I would rather hire a band like Steel Panther and then let them battle themselves.
I will say, Pete, my 19-year-old is very much, he is so fully committed to his bass. Every night he's down there just going crazy, and he's getting really good at it. He's self-taught at this point. I mean, thank God for YouTube. That's how he's learning. But I'm pretty impressed. I'm not that very musically inclined, but I know you, obviously, big bass guy as well.
Well, yeah, I've picked up my guitars more in the last 60 days or whatever, 30, 45 days that we've been locked down. I don't even know what day it is anyways. So, I'm lucky that you guys texted me before we got on, because I would have forgotten about this. But
thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot that we're not that memorable for you.
No, it's not that. Every day has been like, what day is it?
Yeah,
what day of the month is it? I can tell you it's Thursday, but I had to look at the calendar to find out what day of the month it was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We're all blending together. I mean, I think think this is my like 12th consecutive day of coming to the store, and Lord knows I hate doing that, but it's necessary now, and it just everything's melding together where weekends aren't weekends anymore. It's just 2 more days in the week, and it just kind of flows. And it's been an interesting challenge of managing some kind of personal life, and Amy and I don't get any time together right now because I'm here so much, and she's helping out the store and volunteering. And by the way, the karaoke idea from Kylie, she's actually my Nat Sherman rep.
Yeah.
There's some collusion with my staff and Amy on them bringing up this karaoke idea again. So yeah, unfortunately, ladies,
it's a horrible idea.
Unfortunately, we can't have groups together right now, so we'll have to put that on the back burner again.
I believe a virtual karaoke could be possible. And what I would like to recommend if you do that is get dressed up in your Mardi Gras, Master of Ceremonies, and then you can go ahead and sing.
Yeah, but we need a mic like you have, because obviously it sounds way better on your mic.
Yeah, these are webcams from like 10 years ago. This thing is awesome.
Yeah, I think not being able to have a lot of those live events has been the most difficult challenge during this time enjoying cigars. It's kind of got to do it remotely, but again, these virtual chats have been a blessing. I do miss the townhouse events that we've been doing, and I think we had you like a couple months ago for hand rolled, and that's been something. People are asking me, what should I watch? What should I watch on Netflix or Hulu or whatever? And I'm like, look up the documentary Hand Rolled, learn a little bit about the cigar industry, and then we'll increase those action alerts and get some of these members of Congress doing what they need to do.
So if anybody saw that pop up on the screen, that's my brother and I. We've been in the mode of Cuomo versus Cuomo. I'm at least the favorite son, and then I actually talk to Mom every day of the week. He just likes to do that because he thinks he's trying to be cool. Casey, Mom actually misses you.
Casey does have a better haircut than you.
Yesterday, so.
Oh, good. I would say, Casey, I do like your hair better than Pete's, though.
Oh, thank you.
Casey's been to every Mardi Gras event too, so he's pretty good.
I do have one question though. A friend of mine did text me to ask you, make sure to ask you, that the J21 that is going to continue into production is in no danger of ever being cut, right?
Oh no, yeah, the J21, that's for here to stay forever.
And
that's not going anywhere.
Am I remembering this correctly? It's been the same roller, right? It's the one guy rolls that, and it's that same roller every time. I thought I remember you saying that, right?
Well, no, we have one roller that rolls them now. In the past, we had a different roller rolling them. We've over the the 17 years of making cigars in Miami, we've lost a few rollers to where they've moved out of the state or even out back to their home country. So.
Yeah.
We've had a few, obviously they're old friends from Cuba, from the Garcia family, but I think we lost one guy. He moved to Wisconsin or something. I was like, who wants to leave Miami to go to Wisconsin? I guess there were some tax incentives to move to Wisconsin. But yeah, we've actually shifted rollers, but yeah, it's only one roller that rolls.
That's cool. Josh, did you have any other questions? I could sit here and talk to you guys for hours. I don't know if anybody would really be that interested in it, but I do also want to be cognizant of your guys' times as well. I know you guys have busy and other things to do. Like Pete needs to check a calendar, and Goose Island to open up.
I'll tell you straight up. I had 4 herfs one night, and the last herf went until 4:30 in the morning.
Oh God.
And then I decided to stay up until 6:30 watching footage, like family footage of the Garcias that we filmed down at the factory a couple of years ago. Kind of like how they came about, where their story is from Cuba to the United States. And so I got kind of locked in on watching that old footage, obviously not understanding most of it because it's all in Spanish. But
you're not fluent yet, Pete?
No, I get by with tobacco. Spanish is pretty easy, but if I need to tell a story, I'm lost.
So, are you going to keep it that way so that way you can kind of tune it out? If Yanni starts yelling at you, you're just like, I'll just every word. And, yeah.
This is of course live, right? Of course
yes,
not.
It's live.
I listen to every word she says.
as much as you can, but you don't speak Spanish fluently, so it's tough sometimes. Yeah, totally. How is the Garcia family? Is everybody doing well? All good?
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. Everybody's itching to get back to normal. We have not let, neither my parents or even her parents, they're not allowed out of the house.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Not allowed out of the house. So we do a lot of running around for them as much as possible. But I think, honestly, like even the first airline that's going to actually fly back from Miami to Managua, to Nicaragua, won't be until May 7th anyway. So, we have to wait a while before any of us can go back and be in the factory.
Yeah. I only had one last question for Phil. We had an opportunity to go to the Independent Distillers event. I think it was like a year and a half ago when we were there.
That's Expo, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the you introduced me, Phil, again, Phil/Barry, to Ginniver's, right? In this reintroduction, instead of gin, but the Ginniver's, that liquor that was there. I can't get it here, but I remember tasting it, and it was delicious. And the three different varieties they had there. I just want to know if you're able to get that, and when you're going to actually send me a bottle of 410.
I believe I don't have your card on file, but as soon as we get that squared up, we can. I can do some transshipping for you.
Oh, done. I'll give you my card as soon as we get done with this.
And it kind of goes back to the partnership thing. One of the guys who was partners with that and was doing the Jennifer is a really good friend named David Smear. He's done a couple different spirits ventures in his life, to say the least. And he's been really supportive of the store. We've hosted Indie Spirits Expo preview nights here at the store. Even when we couldn't be a part of the main event anymore, they still make sure we get a guest list and I can bring customers to the event, and which is why you got to go with us that one year. And those relationships are really what is maintaining our business right now, and everyone else's that are really kind of working together and connecting on that. So I think I just have only about a third of a bottle of that left right now, so I'll have to go and restock, and perhaps I'll send you something, Pierce. We'll see. I'll think about it.
Just
give me. I'm probably just going to fill it with some other fluid and let you have a little sip first to see what happens.
Don't worry. I'll have Josh be the taste tester before I actually go into that. But yeah, that was fun. That was really interesting getting to explore various types of alcohol, and I love the fact that it was a bunch of small distillers and everything else. So that was a really cool night.
Yeah, the local guys have been great for us, and we're working on doing some of the virtual things. We're going to get some of those guys involved so they can we can kind of pay it back and they can talk about their brands and what they're doing right now. So it's not just going to be cigar centric stuff. I want to get my buddy Joe Henry involved because they've got a Wisconsin bourbon that they actually literally grow their own corn and do everything in-house, and they even were using Wisconsin wood for the staves and the barrels for a while, and they're farmers that started making really good bourbon. So we're trying to keep doing interesting things that aren't just about us and hustling. It's more just sharing the relationships we have and being a part of stuff together that we can keep things interesting and keep guys having some semblance of normalcy out there.
Very cool.
Let's talk wine pairings, Pete. What's the go-to wine pairing during the time that we got here?
You know what? I've been kind of all over the map with wines lately. I've shifted to Italian, and then Dan Welsh, who does surrogates with us, he keeps on sending me old California Ridge that he has in his basement and stashed away in Ohio. So I keep on getting little care packages here and there, but the simple one for me is grab a bottle of Bordeaux and any cigar, you'll be good.
Bordeaux is my go-to as well. I love a Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Pete, who's a better skater, you or Casey?
No, my brother. I was bad on skates, weak ankles.
Yeah, Casey, that one was for you.
Yeah.
All right, Pete and Phil, that's the hour. Like I said, I could go on for a long time, but want to be respectful. Thank you both for joining us. Josh, anything else before we sign off and say goodbye to everybody for the day?
No, we just appreciate your time. Definitely enjoying the cigars and the service from up down. I'm a big fan and proponent of everything that you guys are doing for the industry. And good luck if we can be helpful in any way as PCA. We're always a call away.
Yeah. I do have a question before we go. What's going on with the show?
That's a very, very good question. We are working.
It's just that.
No, of course, no. So we are. That's a really good question. We are in contact with the Sands. Obviously, you're seeing announcements changing on a consistent basis, so we're monitoring that. So we'll be coming out with some more information about the show here probably in the next week or two. There's a lot of stuff that we've got to work through with obviously a couple of different partners, both Sands Venetian and some of our other folks as well. So hopefully within about 10 days to 2 weeks, we should have a much more definitive response for that. Is unfortunately the best response that I can get right now.
No, yeah, I get it.
We did have a board call yesterday, and I will say it was fantastic to talk to everybody, and which we've been doing a lot lately. But the ideas that people are having, there's a lot of issues behind this that we've got to work through, and a lot of uncertainty, and our timeline is really in the perfect storm of being July compared to where we are now. It's too close and too far at the exact same time. But the board has been tremendously. I think some of the ideas that came out yesterday were fantastic, and there was some great concepts for not only the PCA just to handle the show this year, but also moving forward as an organization to represent, manufacturers, everybody in the industry. It's been a pleasure to be on the board and work with Josh and Scott and everyone else involved. And I appreciate the work that goes into it that no one really gets to see. So I'm Dick, I'm glad you asked that, because I think it was good to bring that up and let people know that, the PCA got a lot of bad press in the past year, and there was a lot of bad messaging or flat out misinformation. And the amount of work that's actually getting done is tremendous, and the dedication and the effort is really unbelievable. So it's and thank you, Pete, for the support on this stuff too, because we really appreciate it. And as somebody who, Diana was the first female president of the RTDA, and it was an honor for me because the day Joel and myself acquired the store, Ken Newman and John Anderson, I texted everybody who I knew saying, hey, we got the store, we're done with the succession plan. And they both said, first text was congratulations, it's about time. And the second one was, we're putting your name in for the board. And it was an honor that, we've got the relationships where they actually care about my blathering and wanted me to be involved. So it's a privilege to work with you guys, and thanks for having me on this and doing this. And he will be in touch with you shortly to get our stuff hammered out for the thing on 16th.
Yeah, Pete, please give all of our best to your Tatuaje family, the Garcia family as well. Phil, our best, obviously, to Amy, to Joel, and your entire up-down crew there. We really appreciate you guys spending some time with us this afternoon. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back next week. Look for some emails and some social posts. We got a pretty good lineup of a lot of interesting stuff going on next week, too, with some good guests. So thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and enjoy your weekends.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Josh. See you, Phil.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, everyone.